Welcome to Counsel and Community.
Welcome to Counsel and Community, where legal insight meets real-world impact. Sophia Morales here, back again with the Nelson Law Group team to share practical guidance on navigating legal challenges while offering tips for personal growth and financial well-being. We are so excited to have you here with us to discuss how women can avoid divorce. Thank you for coming back with us today, Sarah and Brett.
Thank you for having us.
Hi.
In terms of avoiding divorce, I know there are some statistics on this. So, Sarah, maybe you could share your research. I believe you said that 2/3 of divorces are initiated by women and the other third by men. So what are some of the top reasons for this?
The reasons that men file for divorce. I looked at some online resources, and this was from divorce.com. Top reasons men leave their marriage in order of how they're ranked is different interests. So you just don't have anything you do together anymore. Lack of respect. This is a huge one. Adultery, obviously. Addiction of the other partner, and lack of sex or intimacy in the marriage.
Yeah, and I think there are aspects of all of these things that you do have some control and what I want to say influence over, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you start a marriage, obviously you do have some interests in common. So what are some things that women can do in the face of this list to begin to close that gap and maybe start to steer the boat away from the divorce?
I think that women often get really wrapped up in their children and in the family, and it's a huge job and a huge task. And I think that people get maybe things out of order and stop taking care of themselves, their marriage, that sort of thing. And so that's usually a first place that I start. But Brett may have some.
Yeah, I was going to ask him next. I mean, because he's been the divorce attorney for decades. What do you see most often for these reasons?
What Sarah said about, get wrapped up in their children and stuff like that. In today's world, both parents get wrapped up in their children and they lose interest in their spouse. They start living their life vicariously through their children, or they get so fixated on, Sally's going to do this in soccer and Jimmy's going to play football and, or Boy Scouts and band, everybody's going to be a cheerleader, and everybody gets focused on that. And the parents are going 90-0, taking these kids to all these different activities, and they're not spending any time with each other. They're two passing ships in the night. So there's no connectedness. And when there's no connectedness, the next thing is there's no intimacy. If there's no intimacy from the male's perspective, the wife has lost interest in him.
Right.
So he is starting to think that their relationship is over, or maybe the wife's maybe interested in somebody else. So we start getting into these mindsets that we are not living together and we're not in the same boat rowing in the same direction. We are no longer this family unit. We are two separate individuals taking care of our kids, and their interests are primary. So the different interests is really easy to see it develop because the parents fail to be intentional about their relationship. And, that is a critical thing to be aware of, so that you can date your spouse. You can carve out time for each other. And you can, even if it's just running up to the Dairy Queen and sharing a milkshake, sit down and learn to enjoy each other without the pressures of the community and everybody else's expectations about what you should be doing at that particular moment in time, and focus on your relationship. So that's kind of the differing interest part. The lack of respect, I really feel that, there's still some gender roles out there. And if even when both parents work outside the home, I think the larger portion of the parental duties still fall on the mom. And I think men tend to take that for granted and fail to give that the merit and the honor and respect that it deserves. Parenting children and being with them primarily is hard work, and it needs to be acknowledged as such.
Do you have any thoughts you'd like to add to this topic, Sarah?
I do. I think that the way, he's talked in previous episodes about the way that we grew up and what's modeled for us. And so I think a lot of times, speaking of that, just taking on all of this role for the children and taking all of this and just doing it, and the mental language of, oh, it's just easier to do it myself, or not having an expectation because we didn't see it growing up that our partners are capable of helping and willing to help. I
Right.
think that we do ourselves a disservice as women to not just allow them to step in. Maybe they're going to do it messy. Maybe they're not going to do it the way, but we have to let our partners parent our children and not subconsciously, unconsciously take on all that burden to where we drain ourselves and we have nothing left for our partner.
Right. Or ask them to do it and then take it back,
Yeah.
which I've seen more than once happen.
Yeah.
And on both sides, if there's this unwritten expectation that's not being met, that breeds resentment, and
Yeah.
resentment then breeds disharmony, which leads to you maybe having a conversation with the other lady at the soccer game, and you guys kind of complain about your spouses together, and all of a sudden you have a common interest that kind of leads you both down the wrong path.
Well, yeah, it's like let's get together and bitch about our spouses. That's a recipe to get divorced, not to save the marriage generally.
100%, and we see
Yeah.
that a lot.
Sarah, I know you've also been through a divorce and had some time probably to reflect on that. Do you have a story or some thoughts on how perhaps you might have contributed to your divorce?
I think I was married to my kid's dad, and then I have what one of my darling knitting friends calls an oops marriage, where I did, taken some more time, done some more self reflection, but now I help other people avoid that. But I think, in that marriage, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of me being really hyper independent, and it was childhood patterning around what I was told, which was not having a high level of respect for men, those sorts of things. And so I took on a lot of tasks. I did not let my partner step in and help. I probably emasculated him a little bit by sending this message, not saying it directly, but with my actions, I don't trust you to handle this, and infantilized this person. And I think that was a huge role or a huge part in the marriage coming apart was my lack of being willing to receive help or thinking enough of my partner to allow him to help me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can actually relate to that pretty closely because I was raised by a couple of rugged independent individualists, and that was something I really had to adjust when I went into my second marriage.
Mhm.
You know,
Because
you
yeah,
know,
he has to have space to breathe.
Yeah.
and most men, they want to be asked to help because they feel a sense of accomplishment if they've been useful,
Yeah, absolutely. I think we
especially when it comes to younger children, where maybe dads know, at least what was modeled to me. I didn't really know how to play with my kids when they were little. That wasn't modeled to me, and so my wife did a really good job of making suggestions and setting me up for success with my kids, and I'm reaping the benefits of that now. And help your spouse be successful. I mean, that builds credits, if you will. It fills buckets. And I also think the spouse that's assisting the other spouse also feels some sense of value and accomplishment by making the whole unit better.
we kind of brushed up against this topic earlier, bad mouthing your spouse with someone else. Can you talk a little bit about how discussing your marriage problems with friends and family might not be the greatest idea as much as you want a place to vent?
It's a terrible idea. And the reason it's a terrible idea is because you're polluting their view of your spouse through your words and actions. If you have a problem in your marriage, you need to seek wise counsel. Go to a Christian counselor that has experience in these areas, or go talk to an individual or couple who's been married for more than 10 years and remains married. they're going to listen to you, and they're going to put you right in the right frame of mind and say, yeah, okay, well, tell me something I don't know, or that's to be expected. If you get somebody that's in a successful marriage, they've had terrible times. They've had times where they've said, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. It's too hard. It's not worth it. But they stuck it out. And that overcoming those at those points in time, and those adversarial moments and those times of challenge are what make the fabric of a marriage. And I don't know if you've ever been at a wedding or some other event, and they ask the people to stand up, and you get the couples left standing have been married 40, 50 years. There's almost a palpable energy connecting those two people. You can sense it from across the room. They have gone to war and survived. And it's such an incredible feeling. And personally, after 25 years, my wife and I stand, pretty straight and tall. Very proud of the accomplishments that we have overcome together, or that we've made together. And most of it's overcoming adversity in our relationship.
Well, and having had an unsuccessful marriage and then a successful marriage, reflecting on that, what I have noticed that was radically different between the two was in the second successful marriage, no one was looking to ascribe blame for whatever was going on in our world. Whereas in the first marriage, that was the first thing. It's like, well, who's to blame for this? You made a crappy decision. Those kinds of conversations went on. But in the second marriage, we made this decision together, or it was something you couldn't have possibly foreseen. We know you did the best with what you had in the moment. And it was okay, we mutually have this problem and let's pull together approach, as opposed to the first one, which was horribly toxic.
Mm-hmm. We're human beings. We're going to make a mistake, and you need to learn to show grace.
Absolutely. And speaking of showing grace, I think we're in the moment for our mindful moment, Sarah.
Yeah. So this, we're talking about women avoiding divorce, and sometimes we get overwhelmed with kids and things like that. And so the mindful moment for this episode is to really be intentional about making some room and space in your schedule to spend some focused time with your spouse, whether that's just putting the kids to bed and making a picnic on the living room floor, or actually going out for a meal. There's ways to do it without spending money. So don't let that, or even if you don't have to get a sitter, that sort of thing, but really make some time to really have intentional time with your partner, where it's just the two of you. Put your phones down, turn off the screens, and spend some time enjoying each other.
Yeah, exactly. All you need to do is put the phones down and go step out on the patio and sit and enjoy the stars, right?
Yes.
100%. It's great advice.
I love that. Do you have any words of wisdom to wrap us up, Brett?
Invest now. There's a limited amount of time that you have in the day. You need to invest some of that time in your relationship. If you don't, it's going to cost you big time in the end.
Thank you for that. And thank you for joining us here today, dear listeners. Remember, for more insights and exclusive resources tailored to navigating life's challenges, be sure to check out the Nelson Law Group app. It is specifically designed to support you through the divorce process with expert advice and community resources. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more topics, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments. For more exclusive content, including helpful guides like our Divorce Care Guide, download our app today and get the support you need right at your fingertips.